1991, Rugrats first premiered on Nickelodeon in the United States and lasted for a total of 9 seasons with 172 episodes in 2004. During the time, the series held critical and crucial acclaim due in part to the relatability of the characters presented in the episodes for the series. However, in the early seasons of the cartoon, there were 2 characters that were important in early episodes for early storylines, but were eventually discreetly written out in later episodes. Beatrix Pickles, often called Trixie in this series, was the wife of Lou Pickles and the mother of Stu and Drew. There was never any real technical appearance of her in this series, but was always referred to, often in early episodes, through conversations and comments by Lou, Stu, Drew in Season 3, Episode 8, Sour Pickles. In a flashback scene with Stu and Drew as children, Lou is heard speaking to Trixie on the telephone, but her voice isn't heard from the audience's point of view. In Be My Valentine, Trixie is depicted in a photograph with her and Lou on a cruise ship. He later explains to Angelica that he fell in love with her at first sight, but she didn't feel the same way about him at first. Lou had to charm her and was relentless in courting her affections, which she eventually later returned to him as the both of them mutually fell in love together. An interesting fact is that in the first Rugrats movie, released in 1998, has a conversation between Stu and Dee Dee, and at the time they believed that they would actually have a daughter and planned on naming this child after Stu's mother, but when the child was revealed as being a boy, the name was changed. The episode Acorn, Nuts, and Diaper Butts was the tie-in episode that led up to Rugrats in Paris, the movie, released in 2000. This was the first real introduction of Lulu, as she later became the second wife of Lou Pickles. A possible prior mention of her was in the Season 2 Episode 6 regarding Stewie, but it might have been just a coincidence. The fact that Lulu became Lou's second wife sort of ignored established continuity with Lou's former love mentioned in early seasons of the show that were important for Lou as a character for early plot development of the character. This former love being that of Morgana. In Season 2, Episode 8, Grandpa's Date, Lou mentions a woman that he had met decades ago by the name of Morgana. Both had mutual feelings for one another, but one day, a woman by the name of Trixie Morgana, not related to Trixie Pickles, had an asthma attack. Lou was the only man nearby, and being a Second World War veteran, was trained in mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and he attempted to revive her. Later saving her life, however, Morgana saw him and the whole situation of him on top of her and thought that he was kissing her. Morgana thought that Lou was unfaithful and later broke off their relationship and even left him, as well as the town that they lived in. Only decades later, through circumstances, did they meet again and attempt to repair their relationship. At the end of the episode, Morgana says to Lou that she'd return to him, but tragically never did. Morgana was once again mentioned in Season 3, Episode 7, When Wishes Come True, as she called Lou on the telephone and had a small conversation with him. Other than that, she was never heard nor depicted again in the entire series. The episode Grandpa's Date was one of the best in the early seasons in terms of Lou Pickles' early story chronology, with Stu and Drew as children and even Lou's life before they were born. But due to the lack of screenwriters using the character of Morgana and with her connection to Lou, she was utterly forgotten. Consensus were with fans that if Morgana were used more in the series, there would have been a decent chance that she would have married Lou instead of Lulu. Sometimes a character can be forgotten because screenwriters didn't use them.